Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, written and directed by Guy Ritchie, starring Henry Cavill, Alan Ritchson, Isa Gonzalez, Henry Golding, Alex Pettyfer, to name but a few. The film is based on a true World War II covert mission sanctioned by Winston Churchill that saw a group of covert operatives team up to sink some German U-boats that had a grip on the Allies' supply chain. But the film is much less concerned with being a history lesson and much more concerned with being Guy Ritchie's classic flair and drama action comedy. I will always watch a new Guy Ritchie film. I think he's got a very unique writing style. All the actors who work with him praise his kind of use of improv and willing to kind of change things up on the day of the shoot. He seems to be a very sporadic, spontaneous, ever-changing director on the scene. But he's also a director who kind of consistently makes films that are of the same caliber and of the same level. He's a very meat and potatoes director. You know exactly what you're going to get when you watch a Guy Ritchie film, and he very rarely strays from that formula. I think over the last few years, the films that Guy Ritchie has released have been ranging from meh to good, but never great. And though you will always find something to enjoy in his films and they will never be explicitly bad, they always kind of hover in that mid-range. And for me, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare sits right there as a mid-film. I think some of the issue might be that his last few films have had limited theatrical distribution in the US, but internationally they've been released on streaming. So already you've lost that cinematic factor in Guy Ritchie's storytelling. And then you lose the excitement factor of going for a cinematic experience to watch a new film, which I think I would have enjoyed much more with a film like The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I think there are always performances in Guy Ritchie's films that will elevate his writing style and really make you kind of cling to their performance throughout the film. And in this one, it's definitely Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson. From the opening scene, which I think was probably one of the best scenes in the film, if not the best scene in the film, the two have a really great camaraderie, a really good chemistry, and just really nail the Guy Ritchie tone that you're kind of well versed in by now. Seeing the two kind of banter and bicker while they're held at gunpoint was just really great fun and really set the tone for the sort of film we were going to be watching. And it was great to see Henry Cavill in this sort of role. He really chewed up every scene he was in. He was definitely the highlight of the film. Playing this RP Englishman who was also a bit of a brute and a rogue, and just treat the kind of missions he's on and the stakes with a very banal indifference was great fun to watch. And Alan Ritchson again was just hilarious with his accent and provided some of the better action beats throughout the film with just his brawn and burliness. Everyone else is fine. I think when you watch Guy Ritchie in his classic kind of comedy writing, I think certain actors definitely don't take to Guy Ritchie's writing style like a duck to water. Some definitely do, and it's a really poetic rhythm, but others definitely don't, and it kind of sticks out a mile. And there's a few of those instances in this, but for the most part, the acting and the ensemble is good fun. The action is all well shot, it's competently choreographed and executed. The set pieces don't necessarily beg a rewatch for the action element of them, but there's definitely fun to be had. I think the highlight that really just kind of combined the action with the comedy, with the stakes and the drama, was definitely early on in the film where they go on a mission to rescue and recruit one of the members of their team, and it basically involves them breaking into a Nazi compound, killing all the Germans there and breaking out their teammate. And they treat it like a walk in the park, and it brought such a fun tone and element to it. And again, props to Henry Cavill for just looking like a maniac having a blast with that. Praise does need to be given to the score as well. I think the score and the instrumentals provided a really good, quirky, eccentric musical tone that perfectly complemented the tone of the film itself. The use of practical settings, explosions being on set as well, provided the film a very grounded feel. I think for me, the problem with The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is that for the second half it becomes a bit generic, it becomes a bit flat, and the film struggles to sustain a pace and momentum that really kept me hooked until the end. Part of that I think is due to how the narrative basically splits into two. The guys kind of waiting to go in and perform their last mission, and Isa Gonzalez basically worming her way into the German ranks to gain the intelligence they need. While they're okay and provide a different way to ramp up the tension, they kind of detract from the fun being had in the other main bulk of the plot. And to me, the scenes sort of stagnate a little bit. The film devotes quite a bit of screen time to building up one of the Nazi leaders as our kind of main antagonist, to really sell you on his sadisticness, his brutality, etc, etc. But I don't think we need that, you know, I don't think the film needed a face to its antagonists. Because the film ultimately isn't about that. It's about these teammates, it's about their bonding, it's about their kind of banterous back and forth, gunning down Nazis like NPCs, and I think ultimately that's where the film thrives, in being an unapologetic action comedy, because I think for me when the film tries to do anything else, it falls a little bit flat and you notice it stall your kind of pace and engagement with it. And I think ultimately you would just rather stick with Henry Cavill and his band of merry men, just because they're more fun, they're more eclectic, and they're more embracing of the humour. A lot of Guy Ritchie's earlier films had a very noticeable editing style as well that was quite fun, quite playful. It wasn't necessarily conventional or linear, and this film plays it very linear, very basic. We cut from scene to scene, and I think the film loses a bit of pace and momentum in the build up to the final set piece. It probably isn't a film that I would want to rewatch again. I think the opening scene was great. I think the rescue scene early on in the film was great, like the first action sequence, but none of the other scenes really kind of stood out to me, and the film as a whole didn't impress me enough to want to rewatch this sort of thing again. It falls in the kind of Guy Ritchie caliber of films, which is slightly underwhelming, but still not a wasted watch. I think you should watch it for the performances, particularly the lead performances, and for just a bit of general brainless fun, I guess, but it definitely wasn't kind of peak Guy Ritchie era. But hey, that's just my thoughts, so do drop a comment below and let me know yours. Please also consider liking and subscribing to the channel, guys. That's always a huge help for me. And in the meantime, we'll see you for the next vid.